This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Tom Murphy of Whole Hog Sports and the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette was sitting in on Sam Pittman's press conference yesterday and heard all this stuff. Tom, what did you make of some of Sam's responses concerning NIL?
Yeah, I think I heard all the words Sam said yesterday, which was SEC teleconference, our Zoom with him, and then Sam Pittman live with Chuck. And I will say that, you know, you can tell he's feeling the pressure, he's feeling the heat, and I think he was just pretty much being honest about the NIL, that they hear what other recruits say. Well, so and so is offering me this or that, and it does feel like Arkansas is behind a little bit, and so I don't know. I think he's kind of laying it all out there and letting the people kind of determine where things stand with the program. I mean, you can't reverse the results, which are a bunch of losses in one-score games that some of them they could have won, many of them on the road. Hey, if they could have manufactured some of their performances like against at Bama, at Ole Miss, at LSU, and had that against Mississippi State and Auburn, they probably would have won those games. So it's a little bit mystifying, and I know there's plenty of fans who don't want to hear it anymore, but those are the facts.
Tom, there's only been a couple blowout losses in the Sam Pittman era at home. You think about Georgia, you were up at half. First year, they ended up coming up, beating you by 27. Bama blasted you that year. You lost last year by 20-something Alabama. You know, it was a game in the fourth quarter. This is the first time this year, though, it's happened. How do you think this team is able to bounce back with, again, it being their first time?
Right, and you know what? It's interesting that's about the first thing that came out of Sam's mouth last night with Chuck on the show was that, hey, this is the first time we've had a result like this, and it's basically pretty non-competitive, and so that being the last thing on everyone's minds, it's that's what kind of led, I think, a lot to the uproar, so to speak. They really need to beat Florida International handily, and if it's a tight game, then he's not making an argument to stay around. They need to win. They need to look good. They need to be able to run the ball. And I think when you look at the course of the season, it started in week 2. I mean, week 1 was what it was. They didn't run it quite like you felt like they could against Western Carolina. But the fact that Kent State held their run game down, it's almost like it set the tempo for the season. And even though they had pretty good offense against BYU, it just got frustrating from there. And so they need to tackle better. They really need to hold Kent State down. FIU down. This is a freshman quarterback with a lighter than normal line. Arkansas's defensive front really needs to shut down the run game. And if they look good and all that, then I think there'll be a pretty good amount riding on this Missouri game.
Tom Murphy with us on the McClarty-Daniel hotline. As I'm looking at these statistical comparisons for FIU and Arkansas, there's a lot of statistics for FIU that are outside the top 100, offensively, even defensively. One area they do stand out, maybe their best area statistically, is punt return average, 25th in the country. They lead Conference USA. That's an area that last week gave Arkansas a problem early in the game. You mentioned Arkansas not just winning, but winning with some style points. What does have to happen? And I don't think you can have another breakdown in special teams to make it happen, Tom.
No, you can't. And, boy, I looked at that punt return in detail and I wrote about it this week. I think Max Fletcher outpunted the coverage. Apparently he punted to the wrong zone. So if you can punt that distance but punt over to an edge, then you have your return coverage set up to contain it better. But when Scott caught that punt, I think at his own 26-yard line, the Gunners, Broden and Ladarius Bishop, were 7 and 8 yards away, and they had a guy on them. So that gave him the ability to get going, so to speak. And then there was a couple of turnstile tackles where he just ran through arm tackles, and they just didn't have enough guys around the ball, so to speak. And I think you can extend having guys around the ball on punt return on defense as well. There were too many times where an Auburn ball carrier just needed to break one tackle. I mean, you think about the Fairweather's touchdown. Jalen Braxton, he's given up multiple inches in height, and he went low, and Fairweather broke the tackle. On Peyton Thorne's first touchdown run, it was Jaheim Thomas in the hole. I mean, it's a no gain basically if he comes up with a tackle. So I don't know. There's a lot of issues, but tackling is one of them, and not out punting your coverage is another. But man, you're having to dig pretty deep, man, to get to the fact their punt return is well regarded punt return team, because otherwise their stats just don't look very good. It's a rebuilding team.
Yeah. Rocket Sanders looked good a couple of weeks ago. Last week, 8 carries, no yards. Coach has spoken to him. What do you expect from Rocket this week?
Well, hopefully having a crease to get through. And he ran with such purpose down there near home. His son was in attendance, a lot of family. Every time he touched the ball the other night, he went backwards one time when I think if he had just cut up, it at least would have been like a no gain instead of I think it was an 8. And so he wound up with 8 carries for no yard, which is just almost unfathomable when you think of how good of a running team they've been the last couple of years. So I will say this: if the Sam Pittman regime lasts on until next year, they have to come up with a way that they're running downhill on you. Like Auburn was the team that ran. They had the eye of the tiger, or whatever you want to say, last week on both sides of the ball. They were defeating blocks on defense and getting to the ball carrier, putting pressure in the backfield, and on offense, they were going downhill. They were running with purpose, and they were getting into the secondary and making things tough. And Arkansas has to somehow reclaim that, that want to and that will.
Tom Murphy with us here on the McClarty Daniel Hotline, Whole Hog Sports, Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. So we've got a few texts this morning, Tom. Does that mean a change in the offensive line coach in Cody Kennedy, where technique is often described as the problem with this year's group?
Sam Pittman, I think he thinks of Cody somewhat as a son almost. And so he's going to have to think long and hard about, how well developed their linemen are, because if you look over the course of his career, offensive line play has just been a staple. Recruiting it, developing it, getting it ready for the NFL, and this unit hasn't come along as you'd expected. This unit had a couple of veterans in Latham and Limmer, and they're not playing at their best this year. So he does have to consider that long and hard, and if he's back, I think there's going to be changes, and Cody could be one of them.
He's made changes at the defensive line coach, but you mentioned his relationship. He had one with Dan Enos, and he made a tough call. I mean, is this an even tougher potential call for Sam Pittman with the relationship he has with Kennedy?
Oh, yeah. It does make it just as tough, if not tougher, because he considers Cody like a protege, a guy that he's kind of helped mentor. And it's just been a little bit stunning of all the developments on this team. The O-line has been such an issue.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet Online, where the game starts.